Of our Secretary General, I'd like to apologize because we have time constraints, but you all see his very active and great work, and partly also in my remarks I also highlighted some of our joint work. So thank you, Roberto, very much, and please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Swedish delegation and the UK delegation, I see they're still in the room. Of course, if you decide to leave the room or if your attention is not focused on the Secretary General's report, you have all my sympathy, of course. Seriously, thank you, Doris, for hosting this event, and thank you, colleagues of the Bundestag, for organizing a great event. I will speak also in the plenary on Wednesday, so I will speak more about your work and appreciation. I have distributed a written report, so I will limit myself to a few remarks. The status of the Parliamentary Assembly is very healthy in this moment. We are doing very well. The fact that there are so many participants, this time 915 participants to this event, 261 parliamentarians, but lots of NGOs and media, shows that there is a great enthusiasm around the Parliamentary Assembly, and I would like to thank all of you for this enthusiasm. I would like to thank the Standing Committee for passing a budget. I restrained myself for requesting an increase of the budget for the last 3 years because I wanted to do first our homework. I wanted to introduce new financial rules and regulations. I wanted to set in place a mechanism of accountability and transparency within the Secretariat. This is now in place, so we have now come up with a more ambitious budget, a budget that requires a 7% increase. For those who are here, diplomats from Vienna, they will know that in Vienna it's quite unusual to ask even for a 1% or nominal growth. Having a 7% increase of the budget is indeed a big success, and I take it as a testimony of your trust in the work of the Secretariat. And again, I'd like to congratulate Doris for carrying this out, but also Gustavo Pagliares and Marietta for working on the budget. Thank you very much. The budget, of course, is a budget that helps us have the resources to help you carry out your work, but I would like to say that the biggest resources of this Assembly is indeed a Member of Parliament. And I don't do this with trying to flatter you or to say nice things about Members of Parliament, but is indeed, I mean, the Secretariat, a small Secretariat of 20 people, the biggest asset, the biggest resource of this Parliamentary Assembly is the Members of Parliament, is your engagement on the ground, is your engagement in committees, is your engagement in your own parliaments. Whenever you bring up issues in your own parliament, whenever you bring up issues in the international press, this is the work and the contribution that the Parliamentary Assembly and the parliamentary dimension does to the OSCE. The theme of this Parliamentary Assembly, you have focused on implementation. This is right on target. I think we should not think of new commitments, we should not think of reinventing the wheel. I think we should focus much more on implementing the commitments that exist. You will see in the run-up to the ministerial meeting in Milano that we will try to come up with new documents, and the ministerial council will try to adopt new documents. My advice always to also the Italian chairmanship is not to think about successes in terms of how many new documents you adopt, but maybe the success is how many of those already adopted get implemented. And this is one of the priorities that we should focus on, and it's right on target that the Parliamentary Assembly has decided to put implementation as the theme of this Assembly. President Serratelli, just a word for you. You've been extremely busy, you've been extremely enthusiastic, and I must say that you have demonstrated also that some of the old taboos in this Assembly can be broken. Many people were a bit perplexed whether we could have a president who is in a conflict with another participating state, or whether, or from a small country, or whether we could have a president who is in the opposition in his own government. You've demonstrated that you can be a very successful president also if you are at the opposition or if you are in a country that has an issue with another participating state. So this Assembly is, there are no members who can be excluded from many positions of the Assembly. The Assembly is an all-inclusive Assembly. There is no conventio ad excludendum. The Italians would know what I'm talking about. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I just want to say something about election observation. There's been a report on election observation. We have done 2 of these 4 election observations which were snap elections. Elections that were not foreseen before, Turkey and Azerbaijan, but we've managed to put together decent support from the International Secretariat, great deployment of members of parliament. This is a testimony again that this Secretariat is capable of working under difficult circumstances in moments of heat and in a rush moment, and also has a great capacity to display flexibility. We work very well with the ODIHR, of course. The ODIHR methodology is what we value. There are issues that we need to work still with the ODIHR, and the director of the ODIHR will be here during these days. We will try to work with it closer in order to also address issues that need further fine-tuning. There is a big interest from the civil society and NGOs. You will see so many side events. I just wanted to make one point on this one. The side events are a responsibility of the members of parliament who have organized it. The International Secretariat, of course, welcomes and is very open to interacting with civil societies and NGOs, but it is always the member of parliament who has the ultimate responsibility of calling on an event and inviting civil society to these events. On the PA reform, Lord Bonas is already exhausted. I just wanted to say that the Parliamentary Assembly, of course, will accompany anything that the Bureau and this working group will come up with, and we will try to support the reform process. And of course, we salute also the departure of some members. Marietta Tidei has left us. Piki, you will see him tomorrow, is no longer in our Assembly, but is a Deputy Minister. Dacio Sanchez Amore is a new Minister, of course. Kent Ashted will leave us in September. And Roberto Batelli also has departed, but will be here at the plenary session on Wednesday. All of this work, of course, is not possible without the great team that we have in Copenhagen and Vienna. So it's a teamwork, it's a team exercise. I would like to thank all my colleagues who have contributed. Thank you very much. I hope I was short enough. 5 o'clock.